The X-Files was created by Chris Carter and first aired in September 1993 on the Fox network. At the time, the show stood out by combining a crime procedural with a paranormal thriller. Carter also apparently drew inspiration from reported UFO sightings and conspiracy theories that were becoming increasingly popular in the late 80s and early 90s. Interestingly, Fox wasn't completely sold on the project at first. Chris Carter has spoken about having to fight for Gillian Anderson to be cast as Scully, with executives reportedly wanting someone more conventionally glamorous for the role. Thankfully, Carter stuck to his guns, and it's difficult to imagine anyone else playing Scully. Although I've talked about the X-Files before, I've never actually reviewed the episode that started it all. But does the X-Files pilot hold up at all? Let's find out. Without further ado, on with the review.
Polos is life, 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 sleep all night and then Polos is life.
The episode opens with a girl running frantically through the woods in Belfleur, Oregon. A bright light appears, and a man walks toward her before the light becomes even brighter above them. The police find her body the following morning, and there are 2 marks on her lower back. She's identified as Karen Swenson, who attended school with one of the detective's sons. We see Special Agent Dana Scully attend a meeting with a couple of her supervisors, who have decided to transfer her to work with Special Agent Fox Spooky Mulder on the X-Files, which are cases deemed particularly unusual or unsolvable by the FBI. Essentially, Scully has been tasked with reporting on the value of working on the X-Files, or as Mulder later puts it, spying on him. Scully immediately notices a lot of UFO-related paraphernalia around Mulder's office as soon as she walks in. He makes a lot, and I mean a lot, of self-deprecating jokes about his line of work, and Scully is quite reserved and cagey. This pretty much summarizes their dynamic in the beginning of the series. Mulder shows Scully the case that he's been working on, and the suspicious death from earlier is apparently the latest in a string of suspicious deaths. On top of this, an unidentified organic substance has been found in the tissue surrounding the marks on the bodies. When Mulder states his theory that these murders are linked to extraterrestrial activity, Scully rebuffs the idea. However, Swenson is apparently the 4th person in her graduating class to die under these circumstances, so I would say any working theory is better than no working theory, especially in this universe. The special agents travel to Belfleur, with some unexpected turbulence on the way, and their radio behaves strangely as they drive through the woods. Spooky. Mulder marks this place with an X just in case, which is fair enough, you never know. The victim preceding Swenson is exhumed for examination by Scully under Mulder's instructions, which the town medical examiner, Jane Emmons, takes personal offense to. The victim, Ray Soames, was treated for schizophrenia after graduating high school, and confessed to the previous 2 murders before his body was found in the woods, after he escaped the psychiatric hospital. Whatever the case, his body is found desiccated and mangled.
It's probably a safe bet Ray Soames never made the varsity basketball team.
Inappropriate. Considering the body's appearance, Scully concludes that this cannot be Ray's body, and is instead the body of a primate, such as a chimpanzee or orangutan. Mulder demands that the body be sent for X-rays, the results of which suggest that the body is definitely mammalian but has characteristics of genetic mutation. Couldn't Ray just have some kind of congenital condition? You didn't know him. But, with spoiler warnings at the ready, this implies that Ray was likely heavily experimented on by his abductors, especially in the hours before he died. This is further substantiated by the fact that an unknown metallic grey implant was found inserted into his nasal cavity. While Scully is writing up her report, Mulder visits her in an interesting get-up. You can tell this is from the early 90s. Mulder and Scully then visit the town's psychiatric hospital. Dr. Nemon introduces them to 2 patients who are around the same age as the murder victims, Billy Miles and Peggy Odell. Billy appears to be in a vegetative state, and Peggy uses a wheelchair. both apparently having been in a car accident. If you can tell from my skeptical tone, some of these statements just aren't convincing. Mulder suggests performing a medical exam on Peggy, and her nose starts bleeding, causing her to understandably crash out. While he and the other staff members attempt to assist Peggy, Mulder shows Scully that the girl has the same mark that the murder victims have. Scully insists that there must be a scientific explanation for everything, and she and Mulder inspect the woods that night. Scully finds ash on the ground, but the local police force stops them from investigating further. On the way back to the motel, their car stops in the same place that Mulder had marked with an X following a bright light. 9 minutes have also disappeared since the flash. At the motel, Scully has Mulder check her for marks, and he tells her that when he was 12, his 8-year-old sister vanished following a similar bright flash of light, sparking his interest in the paranormal. He also reveals that someone has been preventing him from accessing and revealing certain FBI information. An anonymous caller then notifies Mulder that Peggy has been killed after running, yes, running into the road. Scully finds that Peggy's watch broke during the crash, which occurred during the bright flash of light. Ray's body has also been stolen from the morgue, and the motel has been set ablaze, destroying Mulder and Scully's evidence. Very suspicious. Dr. Nemen's daughter, Teresa, requests protection from the agents, telling them that she too has awakened in the middle of the woods, and has those same marks. It's implied that she also graduated in the same class as the other victims. To make matters worse, she suddenly gets a nosebleed. Mulder and Scully take a look at the other 2 victims' graves, and find them empty. Mulder tells Scully that he thinks Billy Miles is responsible for the murders. To be honest, I don't really know where he's getting this from, other than the fact that he's the only kid in that friend group who isn't dead yet, aside from Teresa. Given Billy's medical status, I can see why Scully would laugh here, but Scully does find ash on Billy's feet. Mulder and Scully return to the woods again, but are stopped by the local detectives once more. Mulder and Detective Miles witness Billy bring Teresa to what is implied to be a tractor beam, although Billy and Teresa appear healthy and unharmed afterward. Billy explains his abduction in an interview and how he was used as a puppet to collect his friends to perform tests on them, and how he's afraid for his captor's return. Scully's supervisors discuss her findings, and in one of the dumbest moves in all of television, she gives them the only piece of evidence of any of these happenings that she has left. You will never see that implant again, Scully. Similarly, Mulder calls her that night to tell her that all of the paperwork they filed on Billy Miles is gone. We then see a man in a suit put the implant away in a filing cabinet filled with similar implants. Get used to that character popping up. So, what did I think of the X-Files pilot overall? I personally prefer the weirder Monster of the Week episodes, but this is a good beginning for the show. It's easy to see why it took off. As a longtime X-Files fan, this episode is definitely a strong introduction to the overarching plot of the show. Mulder and Scully have generally opposing styles of thinking, and we are shown this promptly. And Mulder's passionate belief in the fantastic versus Scully's level-headed skepticism is what drives their partnership as the show goes on. Obviously, the main thing that comes to people's minds when thinking of the X-Files is its core mystery, a broader government conspiracy involving alien activity. The main characters work for that same government, and they don't always have the same goal. This is made clear from the jump given the whole motel mysteriously catching fire thing. We're also introduced to the universe's laws, and the X-Files is one of those shows where anything can happen given that various paranormal phenomena exist. I think this is better in some stories than others, but Mulder's proof is often circumstantial or inconclusive, although he's often right. One of the biggest themes of the show, however, which also happens to be the main theme of its pilot, is trust. For example, Scully doesn't take Mulder seriously when they first meet, and Mulder assumes that Scully has only been assigned to work with him to scrutinize him. As stated before, There are also some pretty strong hints of institutional deception as well, which seed the ongoing tension around secrecy in the show's overarching plot. Given that the show is a procedural, the audience is also invited to weigh up clues alongside Mulder and Scully, which is something I've always enjoyed doing with this genre, paranormal or not. To conclude, Pilot isn't my favourite episode of The X-Files, but it's a strong and memorable introduction to the series. Not every element is fully developed yet, but the atmosphere, character dynamics, and sense of mystery carry it through. It might not answer many questions straight away, but that uncertainty is part of the appeal. As a starting point, it does exactly what it needs to. It makes you curious enough to keep watching. Well, that's all for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.
The blue and green ones are my favorite kind, but I'll eat the colored ones from time to time. Cause Polos is life, 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 Polos is life. Sleep all night and then Polos is life.